I look at Sean. Hey, I'm Sean Blodgett. How you doing, Sean?
That's
doing
perfect.
all right.
That's perfect.
Oh, I see. The middle of the page.
Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters right here, Ghostbusters right there, Ghostbusters right there, and red and white and black for
the holiday season.
Everybody loves black.
I thought it was for Ghostbusters.
Oh, gotcha.
You had red and white and black, and red and white and black. Come on. Right, Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters, what do you want?
Ghostbusters, what do you want?
We got one.
I was doing it as Mrs. Garrett. Mrs.
Right.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see you.
got one. Oh,
Girls, we got one.
Thank
Number 6, take 2.
Oh, thank men.
Are you troubled by strange noises in the middle of the night? Do you experience feelings of dread in your basement or attic?
Have you or any of your family ever seen a spook, specter, or ghost?
If the answer is yes, then you're in the right place.
It's Countdown to 5, Ghostbusters! Welcome, everybody. Paul Preston here from the Movie Guys. Alongside me,
Hey, Sean Blodgett of Creative Motion Entertainment, and also we're filming here today at the OC Micro Studio. I'm partnering with Oculu, and we're super excited to be here.
yeah, I was just going to say that we're not in the usual Admirals Club where we've been occasionally.
Yes, and we're not in the Corporal's outhouse, which, which I still laugh about. Like I literally be walking, be like when Paul said Corporal, like that just I should just
you should name this.
Your problem was with the word corporal and not outhouse?
yes, it was just no outhouse I was fine with.
Hey, and what voice is that? It's now the permanent co-host, Justin Bowler.
Hey, Justin Bowler of The World.
And it turns out we just like counting down to new movies in a franchise, so we're back to do it again with next year's arrival of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Now, normally, we sometimes, like with the Star Wars, we had waited for years for Star Wars to come back, and so Episode 9 was a big deal.
Yep.
It had been years since we got Dial of Destiny. It's not too long between these two movies, Ghostbusters Afterlife and Frozen. 3 years, but still, to get a fifth one, we should have had 10 by now.
Yeah.
I'm excited, and that's a great reason to do this show.
We should have spin-offs by now. We should have like Venkman's Family, going on. And what does Ernie Hudson do in his downtime?
Well, actually, I mean, that is a good question. What the heck is happening in the rest of the world with ghosts?
Yeah.
Right? Like, seriously, why don't we have, like, Ghostbusters Japan?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Ghostbusters China. Ghostbusters Italy. I mean, I feel like Italy, for sure. There's a lot of stuff going on over there.
That's a big specter.
Oh!
Yeah, Stephen Lewis,
Italian.
the great Stephen Lewis, rest in peace, one of the movie guys for years, had an idea before Afterlife, or before 2016 ever came out. I guess we'll start calling it on the show Answer the Call. Should we call Ghostbusters 2016 Answer the Call? That was the little
Answer the Call.
semi...
Sure, yeah, I like it.
Which I have not seen yet. So I'm excited about this.
Wait, this is the female version,
Yes,
right? I have not seen that one either. Yeah, I've not seen
This is a reason to do the show.
Yeah.
Also, I haven't seen Ghostbusters 2 since the theater.
What?
Yeah.
I saw it at ArcLight before ArcLight was no longer a thing. So
Gotcha.
that I have a recent viewing of that.
Interesting. And by the way, I think you already said, you were saying this on the phone the other day, but you brought up a good point. Ghostbusters 2, that's a pretty good sequel because it's not an exact copy. There's a danger in comedy sequels.
Absolutely.
That it's just like, here's basically every single joke we had before, but now we're going to tell it again. And it's like, hey, this is the same hamburger, but maybe we're going to have some ketchup and mustard, and we didn't have that last time. What's the same hamburger?
They're totally forgettable. Remember There's Something About Mary 2?
No.
Exactly.
Caddyshack 2?
We'll just call it Star Killer Base. Action.
Airplane 2? Star Killer Base. I liked Star Killer Base.
But now, this one, look, Jason Reitman knew what he was doing when he made Ghostbusters Afterlife. He didn't spend too much. Paul Feig spent too much. I think there's way more jokes in the 2016 Answer the Call Ghostbusters than most people give it credit for. A rewatch is great. So keep that in mind first time when you watch it. It's going to follow a lot of the path of the first couple movies. They come together, they go on their first mission, they get the car,
Don't spoil it for me.
It follows these but within all that, tons and tons of jokes.
Love
So
it.
Keep that in mind.
So they're going to Last Jedi it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, the hilarious movie. Yeah. Now, Frozen Empire, that's what I like. Yeah, this also seems like new ground, and I would like that from this franchise.
The other thing that I noticed, because I just watched the trailer like fully yesterday. Like I hadn't really seen it, and I was like, "This is scary. This is going to be a scary movie."
Yeah.
Which I think Afterlife was kind of more scary than funny. Which I think is a question for the group. I feel like Ghostbusters that we grew up with was funny. It's a funny movie with some scary moments, right? Like the library moment. If you're a kid and you see that, like that's a scary moment,
Absolutely.
right? But the new movie, I thought that was more scary than it was funny.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Spengler's demise is unpleasant.
Well,
although it's not off camera, it's not a real.
Yeah.
But it's still like, ooh, that's a hard way to open the movie.
Yeah.
But then I think, as always, once you establish with Dial of Destiny, once you establish consequences, then you can have fun. Once there is a real threat, have fun within that. And so we have to set up the guys at Dial of Destiny to shoot Indy's professor, compatriots, and it's not good, but it sets them up, and then we go and have fun.
For those of you watching at home, this is filmmaking lessons right here from Paul Preston.
Right, yeah.
That is the wisdom of a filmmaker right there, because that's true. Setting up your stakes is the thing that some movies are failing at.
Right.
If you don't set up that if I can't believe that Thor's actually gonna die at some point, I just don't care. He's just the hero and whatever, right? Yeah. I have to believe that at some point there is real danger involved, or I'm just not on for the ride.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, and then you have fun within that.
Right.
So hopefully whatever the new threat is, and I think it has something to do with an artifact that releases a spirit and the whole deal. So then, and then it just saved the city again. But I want to go back to another point. They shot Ghostbusters Answer the Call in Boston. And boy, that's where it should have taken place, if you ask me. There should be Ghostbusters franchises in all the cities of the United States. And overseas, to your point.
Yeah.
So it was weird to get back in New York again, So Ghostbusters Afterlife was fun that we went somewhere we hadn't been. And now we're back in New York again, so I hope it's fun again. It's a mixed bag of stuff that brings back different ideas. I mean, don't get me, I'm super excited. But, I hope that it all goes well.
I don't know. Superman pretty much stays in Metropolis. I mean, he goes around the world, but for the most part,
he goes back to Iowa, right?
Spends a lot of time in Metropolis. So.
He does. Well, he also never franchised. Like the Ghostbusters could franchise, and the franchise rights alone, as Venkman says.
I actually think you've just hit upon the brilliance that could happen from Ghostbusters. An actual Ghostbusters franchise. Like that's the lead in for all the other stories, right? They're opening up Ghostbusters franchises all over the world, and that sets us up for other movies taking place everywhere. So, by the way, Sony, you're welcome.
The very next movie is literally called Ghostbusters franchise.
Well, this is what Steve Lewis, I was mentioning before, had thought up as an idea before Answer the Call even came out. Is that he wanted to take place in L.A. because you got haunted movie sets, you got old movie stars that can come back to life. The ideas were crazy. And his idea was the Ghostbusters come to L.A. to consult the making of a movie about them. So then you have people playing the Ghostbusters, and then actual ghosts come, and the real Ghostbusters have to come say. I thought that was a fantastic plot. Never happened, of course. And then they waited too long, and Ramis passed, and we have what we have with Afterlife. Well, that's also great. But the idea of going somewhere new, I thought was great.
We are also slightly discounting. There was an unofficial Ghostbusters sequel that was a video game where they brought back all of the voices for. Which also, it's not like we didn't get something.
Okay, so I feel like we got to see that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So
but they did have the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and some familiar stuff. I mean, I don't know. For me, I think the challenge of something all brand new could be super fun. You already got the characters in place, even after Afterlife. Mr. Gruberson is such a great character. Yeah. Phoebe's such a great character.
Right.
We'll put him in any situation. We're going to have fun.
Let's talk a little bit about this trailer, in fact.
Sure. Okay.
So, right out of the gate, I love the setup. I love the mysteriousness of it. And then, of course, it gets really dark. But there's beautiful visuals. Yeah. I mean, you can tell they've doubled down on this series, and it looks fantastic. And I also think, speaking of the non-funny in the first one, I mean, thank goodness that Paul Rudd was our lead, really, because he does bring the funny, and he seems like he's definitely going to bring the funny in this one. So I love that about the trailer right out of the gate. So what was that? Coney Island? Is that where the
freeze first starts? Yeah, but the last shot of the trailer, they double down on Rudd too, as they should. He seems to be now hooked up with full proton pack, and he's just like sees a ghost, and is like, and that sort of energy he had the whole Afterlife was just great.
Yeah. He's no longer the Rick Moranis character. You know, he's if Rick Moranis' character was able to then be a part of the squad,
right? Yeah, which he did in 2. It's been a minute though.
Yeah, it would be nice if he came back. I know he retired, but it would be cool if he came back.
I would imagine that's one of the big surprises.
Oh, that would be so cool if he comes in there.
Here's my other question. Speaking of big surprises, do we end up getting a CGI Harold Ramis running around all the time who just doesn't speak? Do we end up getting that?
I think we have retired the character when his ghost dust flew into the sky.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's probably the end.
I don't know. It was just
Justin. You know that a ghost disappears when the ghost dust flies into the sky.
It's true.
And into space. That's the end of a ghost.
That's the parameters they've set up, so I know that there are stakes.
Didn't you go?
It would have been funny if they would have captured him and put him in the trap. Right? Like, hey, we're going to save you for later. Is that wrong?
March 29th, 2024. So that's when that's coming out. It was supposed to come out this month, but the strike pushed it to the spring.
This month?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
We could have had it this month.
Wow.
Now we got to wait for it.
Now we got to wait a few months. But that's good. That gives us time to revisit everything, see the one that we hadn't seen. I'm excited about that. That's going to be good.
Yeah.
Gil Keenan is going to direct this one. Gil co-wrote with Reitman, and then Reitman directed the last one. The two of them are writing again. Reitman is staying on as producer. The film, apparently, much like the last one, dedicated to Harold with the final words on screen. This one will be dedicated to Ivan, as it should be.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
And his son will stay on as producer.
Awesome.
And apparently they're drawing inspiration from the animated series. Have you guys ever watched The Real Ghostbusters?
I remember watching like 1 or 2 episodes.
I remember being horribly disappointed by it. Like many animated series. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, like many animated series that I was disappointed by as a kid because like Star Wars had like Ewoks and droids. I'm like, I don't want these.
Right.
Where's Star Wars Jedis?
Yeah.
I want that, And the Ghostbusters one was sort of the same. I'm like, oh, cool, Ghostbusters. And then it's like, no, Slimer, wah!
That's pretty good. That was pretty good Slimer.
Slimer, hey, here he is!
Slimer Jerry Lewis.
It is.
Oh, hey, lady!
The slime in the Glaven.
The slime!
And then outside of those, I don't know if Slimer will appear, but Kumail Nanjiani and Patton Oswalt join the cast.
Oh, nice. Yeah. The
pile on comedians. I'm good with that.
The quick scene with Patton Oswalt was great. He's really good at just delivering honesty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I always believe everything that comes out of his mouth.
Yeah.
So
whether dramatic or comedic.
Yeah.
I just heard an interview with Bradley Cooper. He cast Sarah Silverman in Maestro. And he cast Dave Chappelle in A Star Is Born, and Howard Stern. I was listening to the Howard Stern interview, and he's asking him, why do you hire comedians? He's like, they're just, is there anyone more real? Like, they're open on stage. They're just, everything is out there, and they just bring such honesty to the performances. So I would hope that Patton, the same. You watch something like Young Adult, certainly Patton brings that,
I think in general, like, as actors, like comedic actors can shift into drama.
Yeah.
But not all dramatic actors can shift into comedy. It's a rhythm. It's it's just different.
Carol Burnett said it famously: "Acting is easy, comedy is hard."
Right.
And that's from Carol Burnett. For crying out loud. Come on, look up Carol Burnett, kids.
Yeah. You will love her.
So we're now, as of this taping, 16 weeks and 4 days, 116 days away. Now, when we started,
this is the closest we've ever started one of these.
Well, I was going to recommend everyone go out there and watch or listen to Countdown to 9, Star Wars, and Countdown to 5, Indiana Jones, where we cover those 2 franchises, because they're a great listen and a great watch.
Yeah, and so we're shifting this show to really just be the countdown show. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. So with 16 weeks out, we were 44 weeks out from episode 9 of Star Wars.
We had some lax time in there. We're like, you know what? Yeah, we'll do an episode maybe. I don't know.
Shouldn't you wonder if we're serious about this? That was some commitment there. But this one's easy. We'll come back each week, cover a different movie. After today, we'll do Ghostbusters 2, Answer the Call, Afterlife, and then another show after the new film comes out, and we'll talk about that. Frozen Empire.
Great.
But let's go back to the beginning. When did you guys see the first Ghostbusters? What was your experience seeing this whole franchise kick off?
I remember being a kid, and all any of my friends could talk about in this movie was Slimer. Like, I've been slimed was something that I had heard probably 100 times before my parents actually took me to go see the movie, and it was still hilarious and funny. I do remember originally the trailer. The trailer was starts off, very scary.
Yeah.
It was for a child.
Now that's an interesting point. Way back then, right?
Yeah.
It started out scary.
Yeah. Huh. And then, as does the movie.
Now that's an interesting point.
But, quickly turns to, it's in the trailer, the I got slimed
right.
line right then and there. Like I said, every kid was talking about it. So finally when I saw it, it was just like, this is hilarious.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater. But we were just talking before we started recording about streaming movies and how I just get bugged by the lack of hype. There were ads in around the holidays in the newspaper, full page that said Ghostbusters coming to save the world next summer. And I was like, what is this? And you see the lineup of actors, you're like, what? And by the time the movie opened, I'm like, gotta be there, And this crap comes out on streaming with no hype. You don't even know what's happening. Someone said, did you see this? No, it came out 3 weeks ago. It did? And it's like just they expect word of mouth, but the hype train is just lacking.
I heard
not 1984, man. They prepped you for this movie, and that's why it's one of the biggest movies of all time.
I heard Candy Cane Lane with Eddie Murphy. They had advertisements in newspapers.
Well, and
is that our next countdown? Countdown to 2. Candy Cane Lane 2.
I like it. Oh. Me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to say, I was literally getting nervous about this question because you always ask this question. When did you first see it? And I'm always like, I don't know. It's so long. So I remember, first of all, loving this movie so much as a kid. This was one of the staples of. We're watching this movie. It's on HBO. We're watching this movie. Yeah. It's on TV. We're watching this movie. Like it was like this. The Star Wars movies, Indiana Jones movies. There's like some of the James Bond movies. Yep. It's like a handful of them that was like, I'm all in on these movies. I loved it. And to your point, like every piece of this movie for me when I saw it, I was like, this is fun. It's like exciting. It's like funny. It's got like the scary and it was great. And then I was totally disappointed by the cartoon. So. Yeah, the cartoon bummed me out.
The cartoon has like retro love now. People love that.
The reason I didn't
Maybe you need to rewatch it.
I didn't like the cartoon because of
it wasn't
everybody loved the Slimer. Right. Everybody, you were saying all the kids are talking about Slimer. I'm like, I don't care about Slimer. The fact that he was a character in the cartoon, I was like, why is this character here at all? Get rid of him. I don't want to see this guy ever again. He's one scene. Come on.
Cartoon hate for a cartoon.
Just say.
We'll go in depth on this when we get to Ghostbusters too, but I do think they doubled down on slime maybe a bit too much in that as opposed to
there's a lot
the
of
jokes
slime
they had in the first one.
I will say this about Ghostbusters 2. Like, you want to talk about Ghostbusters becoming a part of like your childhood and just watching and watching and watching. Ghostbusters 2, it was like every single time there was a world premiere video on MTV that had to do with Ghostbusters. It's like I was there. I was ready. The Bobby Brown one. I was ready to watch the Run DMC one. Right. I was ready to I was so excited. They show you clips from the movie in the middle of the video. It's just like, oh yeah. And on top of that, Bobby Brown's going to be in the movie. This is going to be so. I cannot tell you the amount of hype I had for Ghostbusters 2.
Well, that's a good point from like our childhoods too. Like, because we couldn't just go out and buy these movies often too, right? It took like maybe 2 years for them to come out on video. So it was like maybe you got to see it on HBO or maybe they played it on television. But then before that, we had the music videos. Yeah. And it was like...
And newspapers. Lots of newspapers.
Ooh, dangerous. Like all that's like, there's so much good stuff about that. But I think that added to the hype when we were kids.
Oh, yeah.
The kids nowadays don't get any hype. That's the problem, right? There's no... But that was part of the fun. It led up to it. When we heard Ghostbusters 2 was coming, you're like, what? They're making another one? This is incredible. Yeah.
And you mentioned Spirited as the streaming movie that kind of got us started on that whole conversation. It's a musical, and I've never seen a music video from it. So that's how you get me hyped. Put out a music number and have it sweep the nation and become the big holiday thing. Instead, it just gets crapped out onto Apple Plus and...
That, and you want a newspaper ad about it.
Well, it's coming to save Christmas next holiday season. But you guys are listen. I'm the childless one here. As parents, how have you introduced your kids to Ghostbusters, or have you yet? And how far into the franchise have they gotten?
Braxton is 8, and we've talked about watching it because it's a little bit. I saw it when I was older than him, so I told him this is something I would probably have him watch, but I said there are some scary parts. I think it'd be too much for Brent. Brent's 6. So
2 years is the difference.
Yeah.
A lot can happen.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Brent still complains about movies. Like Goonies was too much for Brent. Braxton loved it.
Really?
Yeah.
Goonies?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But Braxton watched it. No, you've talked
I
about
watched it, loved it.
And 2?
Goonies 2?
No. Ghostbusters 2.
I haven't shared
Count
it to
down
him.
to 5 Ghostbusters.
Right now, we're still working through Star Wars.
Good.
A lot of Star
Good
Wars
man.
movies.
That's
Good
good
man.
pick.
A lot of Star Wars movies.
Yeah, a lot of Star Wars movies. Isabella, who's 14, I believe we've watched it. I don't remember I think we've seen it on TV. It was one of those like we're on vacation, it's on TV. Hey, let's watch it, kind of thing. But there was no formal showing, which I would like to have. Joshua, who is 11, he's not a fan of scary, so he hasn't seen it yet. Yeah,
Gotcha.
so yeah.
Yeah, the new trailer does look like it's got creepy music too.
I mean, yeah. I mean, well, and like the people freezing and they talk about death right out of the gate. The original Ghostbusters doesn't really delve into death.
Right.
Right.
There's nobody. We certainly don't see anybody die. We see people's lives at stake. The building falls down and stuff like that. But there's no like death.
True.
So I think that's a little bit of a different thing that happened with Afterlife. Certainly, I think that was the start of this.
Would you say that's a sign of it modernizing?
Yeah,
That's how we tell stories now?
I don't know. I think people die, but then you just don't see the ghost, dust.
The ghost
take
dust?
place.
Ghost dust. That telling you
Ghost
that's
dusters.
science. That's just science, Justin.
Ghostbusters.
French.
Has anyone ever said to you, Justin makes me feel good? Has anyone ever done that?
Justin makes me feel
I don't
good.
think I've ever heard that before. That is brilliant.
Well, you're going to hear it a lot more now.
I see it on a belt. That's all. I see that happening. So for me, I don't have kids, but I did buy it. I guess some people, when they have a midlife crisis, they date a younger woman and they get a Porsche, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I
have 3 Porsches.
I'm dating a younger woman, but I don't do a Porsche. I get an Ecto 1. I bought
Yeah.
a full-size 20-foot 2016 style Ecto 1, and I do parties and stuff with it. So as not being a parent, I can tell you, though, I do a lot of parties for 3 to 5-year-olds. And to me, there's hope for the future. Because people introducing...
3 to 5-year-olds.
3 to 5.
I'm really surprised.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. Do they actually know what, like they know the reference? Have they actually seen the movie?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Most of the time. And they'll be playing at the party. The movies will be on in the back. The kid will have a full jumpsuit with a proton
my.
pack. They'll be the party will just be
Okay.
Ghostbustered out. The cake will be green. The whole deal. Yeah.
Wow.
So I see that a lot.
That's blowing my mind.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
awesome.
process. Good parenting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So anyway, go to themovieguys.net, click on the Ghostbusters Party and Ecto 1 rental, and I'll come to your house and we'll have some fun. As long as it's not too far away because it's a 30-year-old vehicle. Anyway. So with that, then where does Ghostbusters rank in your all-time favorite movies? Taking not just this franchise, but like everything ever. For me, Raiders is number 1.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters cracks the top 10
Easily.
because
Yeah, I mean, I think easily Ghostbusters is in my top 10 for sure. I mean, I think it's a quintessential film that you should watch if you're a filmmaker, an actor.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know.
A fan of pop culture, it's something you should watch.
I like
Because
that.
It was such a phenomenon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how long did it hold as the highest grossing comedy of all time? It was a really long time.
I'm not sure about that. Because I think that winter, Beverly Hills Cop came out.
Was it really?
I think it was
Well,
I'm all right. It lasted like 6 months, which by today's standards,
Pretty high.
But
Pretty
Beverly
high.
Hills
Pretty
Cop
high.
went years.
right.
all right, it only lost it to Beverly Hills Cop. All right, if you work for inflation,
And we're getting a new Beverly Hills Cop
inflate.
movie.
We are.
Yeah. Straight to Netflix.
Wait,
so
are
I don't
you
know when
serious?
it's coming up.
We're having a
Yeah.
Beverly Hills Cop?
Yep.
But it's not going to be in the theater?
No.
Stupid.
Yeah. Well, they'll probably play like a week, like
Yeah,
they do.
of course.
So, yeah, for me, the top 3 comedies I've ever seen, Blazing Saddles, Airplane, Ghostbusters.
Love
Those
it.
are 3.
I would second that list.
But I think Ghostbusters,
Wait, what's your top?
Blazing Saddles, Airplane.
I would put Airplane top.
That's not a order.
Oh, okay.
Because
okay,
I think
okay.
Ghostbusters makes my top 10 movies of all time. The
Yes.
others don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Blazing Saddles doesn't
Wait,
make your top 10
Top
movies?
10 all time. I went to see E.T. in concert the other day, and I cried.
I just am picturing the alien conducting.
Okay, he's not playing an instrument. They had live score accompaniment. Yeah,
They're like, don't follow him. Don't follow him.
He's moving too slow. He doesn't have a little wand. He's just kind of slid up.
It's just
It was great.
I want to see that now.
The point is, I cried my eyes out as if I'd never seen it before. So I really had to adjust everything because my number one movie of all time is Raiders, 2 is Star Wars, 3 is E.T. And I can't deny. I want to sit there and go, is it Dr. Strangelove? Is it No Country for Old Men? I want to be like a film scholar, but I'm like, no, it's E.T. And Ghostbusters in the top 10 too because it's just great. I don't care how brilliantly put together, The Apartment is. Ghostbusters is in the top 10.
I mean, this goes back to the argument that's happening right now. Was it Martin Scorsese who recently came out and sort of said all this stuff about like the
recently
Marvel?
and a while ago, like routinely.
Routinely. But I mean, I understand the possible frustration that some filmmakers, especially from his era, have with these like huge tentpole films. I mean, $200 million budgets, just crazy amounts of everything in it. But, to say that the Marvel films don't have heart, to say that the Marvel films don't have story or character development or, people that you start to care about and all, that's not true. I mean, I think they're really well thought out, well, for the most part. I think they're really well thought out movies, especially that first, all the way through Endgame, basically.
I think it's easy to make any comment about a genre.
Yeah.
I think it's very easy to just generalize like that. And I don't think there was a lot of thought that went into it. In all honesty, now it may be a generational thing. I just took it as sour grapes. Of just like, you're brilliant, and you've always been brilliant, and you didn't get your due for so long, and you finally got your due, and now it feels like you're...
It was due 17 years ago. I mean, just relax.
It's just, I don't know. For me, it was just... to make a blatant generalization like that, like this is a guy who's been around movies for a really long time.
Well,
and now's when you start speaking out and saying this entire genre is terrible.
In Civil War, when Robert Downey Jr. pays for everyone's education at the college, right? And he goes down to the elevator, and Alfre Woodard's waiting for him.
Yeah,
and she's going to throw a photo of her dead kid in his face, and the best part, of course, he goes up to the elevator and he's standing there and realizes she hasn't even pressed the button to call the elevator.
Yeah.
And he has to reach over and press it. So that's not why she's here. Like everything at play there is so good.
Yeah.
You're watching the movie wrong if you're not affected by that or impressed. So Scorsese's great, but you just watched that one wrong. It's because he wanted to make a blanket statement, which isn't fair.
Well, and I'll also say this, and then we can move on. But these films are being made by people who are fans of him. You know what I mean? Like there is a care that filmmakers, I think of our generation, are really have with movies that are being made. I think we know because we grew up with some stupid superhero movies when we were kids, right?
Exactly.
We grew up with some stuff that was terrible. I mean, really, I don't think it was until the Superman movie was good, but some of the other Superman movies were not, right? Batman was good with Michael Keaton, but then some of the other Batman movies were not, right? Yeah, I mean, and a lot of that was story and character development and really having real stakes and things like that. All of these things that actually do matter, and I think these things are present in everything, including the newest Ghostbusters. There you go, it's full circle.
Oh, look at you. So, all right, well, we're excited.
Yeah.
And as we said, come back here every month. We'll bring you a new Countdown to 5 Ghostbusters podcast with the next to last show posting, like I said, right before Frozen Empire, and then a final show with our thoughts on that big movie. And that's us. Paul Preston, Justin Bowler, Sean Blodgett. You get what we're about. So if you want to see just guys talking about this franchise, not some overly complicated critical analysis, I think this is the place to be. And you can follow us at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All those things will come up on the screen there or in the description for this show as to how to follow us. And of course, themovieguys.net is where you can find me. Sean, one more plug for you.
Let's see, one more plug for me. Yeah, check out creativemotionentertainment.com. Like I said, we've got this new OC Micro Studio. It's a little setup here. This is a great place to come and film everything you need for especially your social media. We've got green screen, we've got just basic setups, also interviews, indoor, outdoor, that kind of stuff. So check us out.
Yeah.
Justin, you want to remind everyone your last name?
Yeah, Justin Bowler, and you can find me in the world.
Wait a second. Before we go on,
Yeah.
let's celebrate Justin a little bit.
Okay.
Let's
all
talk
for it.
about
A little bit's really all we need.
Just say a little bit about what you've done. Swampy, I mean, come on. Let's name drop some of the fabulous work you've done.
Oh, we want to bring up my resume.
Let's do it. Just so people know the context of you.
All right. Well, yeah, I was the voice of Swampy the alligator for Where's My Water, which was Disney's huge, biggest selling app for iPhone and such, which then spawned a television series. Yeah. So there was that.
Yes, and Doc McStuffins.
Oh, and I was on Doc McStuffins as Santa. I replaced Jeffrey Tambor after the whole Jeffrey Tambor incident took place. Then, yeah. So
Yeah,
that was
and
fun.
lots of other films and
other
television
stuff in
shows
there, too.
and
I mean, you had been standing in for Jeffrey Tambor for years because you look just like him.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's why I think.
It's like him, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
it
this
was a-
toupee.
It's an easy choice. That's a wrap on episode 1. Well, not our wrap on coverage of episode 1 of the franchise, which is Ghostbusters, which is the next show we're going to do. Make sense? So that's next month, and I don't know, I should end the movie on some kind of Ghostbusters quote, I guess.
I ain't afraid of no quotes.
Justin makes me feel good.
Bye.
Bye.